Welcome back to another explainer. Today, we're diving into a topic that so many of you have asked about. We are looking closely at female fertility, but we're doing it specifically through the lens of a really empowering, clinically backed guide from the Mayo Clinic. You know, so often fertility feels like this stressful waiting game that's totally out of our hands, but today, we're going to flip that script and look at how our daily lifestyle choices actively count toward our reproductive health.
Okay, let's dive into this. Here's our roadmap for the day. First, understanding female fertility. Then, hidden fertility roadblocks. Lifestyle steps to take, what is off-limits, and finally, seeking professional help.
Section 1. Understanding female fertility. Before we get into the how-tos, we really need a baseline. And that baseline comes down to one absolutely crucial number: 1 year. Medically speaking, if you've been trying to conceive without birth control for a year with no success, well, that's the threshold to take a closer look. But listen, this isn't a hard deadline to panic over, it's simply a clinical checkpoint to see where you're at.
And hey, it is incredibly important to validate this right off the bat. Anyone can be affected by fertility concerns. If you're hitting that 1 year mark and feeling anxious, please know you are absolutely not alone. Fertility struggles are remarkably common and completely natural.
Moving on to Section 2, Hidden Fertility Roadblocks.
So there are biological factors that can kind of stall things behind the scenes, mostly starting with hormones. The clinical definition of ovulating is successfully releasing eggs, but conditions like PCOS, high prolactin, or thyroid issues can completely throw a wrench in this. Even systemic hurdles like poorly controlled diabetes or autoimmune diseases like lupus can literally pause the ovaries from doing their job on a regular schedule.
Beyond hormones, we actually have to look at the physical pathways themselves. Think of things like uterine polyps or fibroids as literal physical roadblocks inside the uterus. Then there's fallopian tube damage, which often stems from pelvic inflammatory disease, or endometriosis, where tissue grows where it really shouldn't. Finally, pelvic adhesions, basically scar tissue from past surgeries or infections, can bind organs together, which physically blocks the fertilization process entirely.
The last major biological roadblock we need to talk about is age. It's just a simple fact of biology. As you move closer to your 40s, you lose eggs faster, and the remaining eggs are statistically less likely to be fertile. For some, a condition called primary ovarian insufficiency can even cause the ovaries to stop working entirely before the age of 40.
Which brings us to Section 3, Lifestyle Steps to Take. Now, what's really exciting here is that we're shifting gears. We're moving away from biology we can't control to the empowering choices we actually make every single day. The very first step, maintaining a healthy weight. The Mayo Clinic is super direct here. Being significantly overweight or underweight acts like a biological pause button, actively stopping your body from releasing eggs regularly. Keeping your weight in a healthy range is literally one of the most direct ways to support predictable ovulation. Two other massive factors here are infection and sleep. First up, protecting against sexually transmitted infections like chlamydia and gonorrhea. These are leading yet highly preventable causes of infertility. Second, think about your circadian rhythm. Constantly working the night shift can drastically disrupt your crucial hormone levels. If you do work nights, the Mayo Clinic stresses that fiercely prioritizing sleep on your off hours is absolutely vital to mitigate those risks. We hear the phrase "just relax" all the time, right? And honestly, it can be so frustrating. While the medical consensus is that stress alone likely won't prevent a pregnancy, chronic stress creates a really unhealthy internal environment. So the actionable fix isn't just relaxing, it's actively using proven tools. Things like meditation, deep breathing exercises, and yoga are clinically recognized ways to lower your stress levels and support your overall reproductive health while you're trying to conceive.
All right, Section 4, what is off-limits?
Now, we really have to draw a hard line on certain habits, and this first one involves a huge misconception. We usually think more exercise is always better, right? Well, not here. For people who are already at a healthy weight, exercising too intensely, we're talking heavy running or fast cycling for over 5 hours a week, can actually lower your progesterone levels and completely halt ovulation. Yoga and walking, totally great. Extreme daily cardio, it might actually be working against you.
Then we have the absolute red flags. The Mayo Clinic is incredibly clear here. Don't smoke. Tobacco permanently ages your ovaries and depletes your egg supply way prematurely. You also need to audit your environment. Hidden toxins like certain pesticides, dry cleaning solvents, and lead actively harm fertility. Finally, alcohol. Heavy drinking is directly linked to ovulation problems. If you're trying to conceive, the clinically sound choice is to just stop drinking entirely to give yourself the best possible odds.
Now, at this point, you might be totally panicking about your morning coffee. But take a breath, the news is actually good. You don't have to give it up entirely. The clinical research shows a safe upper limit, 200 milligrams of caffeine a day. Staying under this threshold doesn't appear to negatively affect your ability to conceive at all.
But what does 200 milligrams actually look like in the real world? Well, to put that into perspective, it translates roughly to 1 or 2 small 6 to 8 ounce cups of coffee a day. This is a highly actionable metric, meaning you can still enjoy your morning routine safely without stressing over your fertility.
Finally, we have Section 5, seeking professional help.
Look, sometimes, despite doing absolutely everything right with your lifestyle, you just need a medical expert in your corner. This brings us right back to the rule we started with. If you haven't conceived after 1 year of regular unprotected sex, or if you have known medical roadblocks, it's time to talk with an obstetrician. They aren't some sort of last resort. They are your dedicated partner in navigating all of this.
So, we've covered the hidden biological roadblocks, the environmental red flags, and most importantly, the daily empowering steps you can take to protect your reproductive health. Which leaves us with one final, really important question. How will your daily lifestyle choices shape your family's future? You have the science, and you have the Mayo Clinic's guidance. Now, you have the power to take control of those habits starting today. Thank you so much for joining me for this explainer, and I'll catch you next time.